Welcome to a new episode of the Energy Bridge. Today we have Florian Maringer. Today we're going to explore the wind power generation. You are also part of Wind Association, and we have you here like a wind energy policymaker and market accelerator. How do you like?
That's nice.
Yeah, so welcome.
Hi.
Welcome, Florian. You agree with your introduction?
I take it.
You take it, okay. Well, we let you introduce yourself. Please tell us about yourself and a bit about your journey.
Yeah, my name is Florian Maringer. I'm the managing director of the Austrian Wind Energy Association. My journey,
How you came up with the energy sector from the school, like what you studied, interests?
Okay, I think the fun thing is my first touch with energy was my father was, among other things, he was a coal merchant. So he traded coal, and one of my first experiences was delivering coal with my father.
Wow.
So it was my first touch with 6 or 7 years with coal as energy. So I might be the last person in Austria delivering coal to people for heating and stuff.
Wow.
For houses?
For houses, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm that old. But no, to be serious, I think I started the whole thing, the energy thing, I think 16 or 17 years ago in my hometown, when people there was a community or a citizens movement. We started building some energy around passive house buildings, photovoltaics, bike lanes and stuff like that. And one of the projects was a wind park. And then I was co-founder of one of the first pro-wind citizen movements in Austria, in my hometown. And this led me to the Wind Energy Association.
Okay.
So I go.
Where was your hometown?
Near Vienna.
Okay.
Small town, 4,500 citizens or so. But there was a potential for, 20, 24 wind turbines or so in the region. So quite nice. Then I started in the Wind Energy Association as an expert for energy policy. And after that, I was managing director of the Austrian Renewable Energy Association, so for all renewables. And I think that was the path to the ministry. I was then senior advisor for the Minister for Climate Action in Austria. And after that, I started together with two colleagues, one of the first Austrian climate institutes, Context. And at that time, I was also asked if I want to be the managing director of the Austrian Wind Association. And then I started the job I have at the moment. So it was a full circle, let's say 180 degrees.
Yeah.
I don't think that I'm delivering coal again. So it was not really 360 degrees, but nearly.
But you are delivering energy.
Energy, yeah. So yeah, basically it's 360, but clean.
But clean, yeah.
But you crossed the bridge.
Yeah, I crossed the bridge. Yeah, on the bright side.
When we get into associations and wind association, solar association, what is the current role for IG Windkraft? That the role of the association as a whole, and for IG Windkraft and your role in it.
I think we are trying to shift the focus stronger, because the old-fashioned way of doing lobbying, let's say, trying to push policymakers to make the right decisions, to be more progressive and stuff like that. And I don't think that this is a future-proof concept. So we try to do more advocacy, so more groundwork, like preparing documents and studies and guidance for policymakers, what has to be done and what can be done. It's not pushing for 180%, but pushing for 100%. And doing this advocacy is I think it's very important, but it's not very common, at least in Austria. So in Austria, we have let's say, I don't think that we have a good democratic culture of discussion. So usually discussion is seen as very hostile, in my opinion. And I think that's wrong, because discussion is very important, and we have to discuss more, and we have to have, I think, more conflict, but like being more respectful in the conflict. We have different opinions on that, but you don't have to be in the trenches fighting against each other. But having a conflict is, I think, it's neutral.
Yeah, I heard this quote of someone smart in the past that say the goal of a discussion, it wouldn't be to defeat your enemy, but progress.
Yeah, that's the whole point. It's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, you can take it if you
Yeah, of course I take it.
Yeah, so with all the lobby that you do and discussion and promoting renewables, what is the role of wind energy in energy transition and to reach the goal of being carbon neutral for 2030 or 40?
I think the role of wind energy, you can see it in the charts. I mean, if you go fast forward 2040 or so, you can see that the electricity mix in Austria is could be, I would say is let's say 50% hydropower and 50% PV and wind energy. So wind energy and PV together are the new hydropower. And I think in the whole thing, of course, hydropower is the workhorse and storage part. But the new workhorse is of course wind energy, and that's the role, because when we have 3,500 full load hours, that's quite nice in the energy system. So wind energy is the workhorse of this, let's say 25 to 30, maybe 40% of the energy mix. We will see the potential is quite high. I mean, if we use 2% of our land, we can produce as much electricity as we consume at the moment, a little bit more, at least
2% of the
2% of the whole land. So it's not very much. Of course, it's hypothetical. Don't be afraid, but it's
just two
it's
sides.
a nice relation that you can see that you don't need much to produce a lot of energy.
And if you could also tell us about the wind energy in the energy mix of Austria. What is the current?
Yeah, at the moment we are at around, let's say, 15 to 16% of the whole energy production is coming from wind. And as a rule of thumb, we say that we can achieve 20 to 25% until 2030. At the moment, we have around 4,200 megawatt installed and 1,200 megawatt ready to build, theoretically.
So it's yeah, it's a lot. But in order to get that, it's the long way of putting the connection day of a project plan. It takes a lot from the planification. So there is this need of to electrify more, install more renewables, but then is the speed trap, right? Like we need to speed up to install soon, but there is this developing part to get the permit. We heard about this project that took 13 years for wind energy, for example. How do you see the permit process and how it could be improved or accelerated?
Yeah, that's a pain point. I think the let's say on average you need 7 years from the start of a project, the administrative process, to the end when the turbine is installed, and 7 years is a long time. Yeah, there are the outliers with 12 years, 13 years, they exist. On average, it's 7 years. And Germany, in the last governmental period, Germany achieved a lot of progress. They halved it the whole time. I think they're now ready after 3 years, 4 years or so.
Wow,
quite fast. And what they did was, first they made a law where they said all federal states have to do some zoning. So there have to be zones where permitting is faster. And then they speeded up as well the whole legal framework. And of course, they staff the authorities, because we always discuss about changing the legal framework, adapting the some laws and stuff like that. But at the end, what you need for the whole thing is you need more people as well in the authorities, in the bureaucracy, because if the pile of paper is getting larger, you need people to work on that. So we need zoning in Austria as well. There is not enough progress at the moment, but we need more zoning, more security. Zoning means security for everybody, not just for the investors, but also for the people and also for the industry and the grid operators. Everybody knows then where it would be possible, where you can build, where you can't build, and the clarity is much higher. And this makes everything cheaper, because security is de-risking. Then, of course, you need the laws, and we are waiting for the respective laws, and of course also for the discussions about the laws, because you need a lot of insight in how the whole permitting goes and how it works, how the machinery works, and there have to be more discussion. We don't have the discussions at the moment, and that's really a problem. And then, as I said, and this step has not to wait for laws, but you have to be very careful that you need the people at the authorities, at the courts, to be faster, to have more people working on this whole building project. And I don't know why they are waiting for that. You can do it at any moment, every time.
And if you could just walk us through a standard project, what kind of permitting process that project would have to go through, what kind of nodes that exist right now. So you said, let's say there's a new project coming up. If they come to IG Windkraft, does it help them to make the process seamless, and how do you help them?
The one thing we do is we bring together all stakeholders. So we try to connect them, that they can exchange their experiences and learn from each other. The other thing is that we try to go out to the permitting authorities, to give them feedback, what they can promote and what is a problem. And we try to streamline nearly everything. So we try to gather all the people working on that, streamline the guidances, documents they prepare, the studies and stuff like they have to prepare for the permitting, so that everything is more fluent. And the other thing is we do heavily is communicating, because in my view, in the end, everything is communication. So what we try to do more communication, transparent. There's no hidden agenda, nothing. We try to be extremely transparent. We try to be very, very pushy in distributing all information needed. What we see is at the moment, for example, that more than let's say 80% of the people are pro wind energy, but 70% of the people, if you ask them what they need most, they all say information. So we try to fulfill this need.
70%.
70%, yeah.
Wow.
So it's nice, because people are pro wind energy, and they say, but I need information. I want more information. I want to know about that. I have questions. That's nice. So that's what our main task is, in my view, communication.
And you mentioned that the current percentage is about 15, and it could actually increase up to 25%. That's almost double that in the next 5 to 6 years that has to be done. Well, how many of the new projects that are coming up that you see in Austria currently?
At the moment, we have 1,200 megawatt nearly ready to build, in different stages, but nearly ready to build in the next, let's say, 3 years. and this will lead to around 20% or so.
Okay.
So it's not far away, the 25%. We can see it on the
Amazing.
horizon.
And how do you think that influenced that Austria has 9 regions and every region has their own legislation? So how is the permitting process having 9 different frameworks?
Difficult.
How do you address it?
Challenging, not difficult.
Yeah,
challenging. Everything is a challenge, not a problem. I mean, I think it's standard sentence. It doesn't make it easier. Yeah. At the moment, there is some kind of streamlining coming from the European Union with the Renewable Energy Directive, where it says the federal states have to do some zoning. Some federal states already have a zoning. By law, they should also pass various laws where they accelerate their permitting process. I'm not sure if they all are doing it. If they find other ways to accelerate it, it's fine for me. But by law, they should put in place some kind of legislative framework with zoning which accelerates heavily, Beschleunigungszonen, the Renewable Energy Directive calls them. Yeah, at the moment we see activity in all 9 states, of course, in different, let's say, stages. Like there are mature markets like Lower Austria, Burgenland, Styria. They have wind power. They have a lot of experience. The people there, the administrative body has experience, knows what is wind and what is not.
It's a bit easier.
That's easier. That's easier, and people know it already. They know what they can ask and what they get and what is not necessary. And in other federal states, they have to learn it. Of course, because they don't have the experience, they don't know what is a wind turbine, what is how different wind turbines work. So they have to learn everything newly, and it doesn't make it easier. But when we talk to the civil servants, we see that a lot of them are very progressive and very progressive energy transition mindset. That's fine.
And do you see out of all the 9 provinces, any province which can set best practice examples?
I think the interesting thing is, of course, then the whole federal state thing is not really accelerating anything. But on the other side, they all have examples what went good or bad. So in the end, everything could learn from each other. At least, I mean, in Tyrol, for example, there is no wind turbine, but they did some things recently in their energy laws, which can be very accelerative for the permitting process. That's nice. So other federal states could learn from that. On the other side, of course, like Lower Austria, Burgenland, or Styria, they have a lot of experience in zoning, how to do zoning, what are the things you have to be careful about, and what is not that important. For example, of course, there's always an issue with birds, but not with all birds. So if you have experience which birds are sensitive and which are not, it's much easier. But if you start from scratch and you think you have to watch for all birds, might be difficult. It's a very easy example, but it's like that.
And it's just like a curiosity question, but are there some NGOs as well that had to be taken permission from, or like maybe land activists or climate activists that you need?
Usually wind energy projects are very communicative. So I'm not sure why it is like that, but I don't know any infrastructure project with so strong ties to communications and stakeholder involvement. I don't know any. Maybe it's because it's a landmark. It's a landmark, period. So of course people are discussing about it. You can see it from everywhere, and so by definition something you can discuss about. Maybe that's the reason. I think that's the reason. Usually all stakeholders are involved. There are a lot of discussions, and as I said before, discussion is not for me. Discussion is good. We tend to be very negative on discussions, but I think discussions are good. Usually, we and my members talk with everybody and try to find ways with all stakeholders to find a progressive way into the future, depending on who's active in the respective region.
And you mentioned before the change of law, so we got into the topic that recently it was approved a new law here in Austria about the electricity law that you call it. You were part of the discussions, so we are very grateful to have you here with a fresh impression. So if you could share with us what is this law about, what are the main changes, and how do you see it for the future?
Yeah, I mean, the basic idea from the law, the electricity law, is very good. And I think, let's say 80% of the whole law are good. Of course, it's always a long process because it's very complex. And, the whole liberalization of the energy market led to a very large ecosystem of different stakeholders with very different views.
More competition.
More competition. And of course, old ties and of course power is not as let's say unequal distributed anymore.
Okay.
So the whole law does more equal distribution through the stakeholders. So for example, it's not like 10 years ago all the major power in the energy system came from the grid operators. So they lost a lot of power, a lot of it got more transparent. It gets more transparent because there is more information in the market. You have more access and more rights to get data and information, and that's for me very important because it's this legal security we need, and so it's breaking up silos in general. More digitalization, more rights to different stakeholders, new stakeholders like active customers, which are a hybrid role, something between energy producer, energy trader, and consumer.
Wow.
So more right for energy communities. So in my view, it's a good step. Of course, there are some problems as well, and this is more political. There is no, I would say there is no evidence-based reason for that, except different views of different stakeholders who were in the end powerful. There was a hard fight around grid fees, additional grid fees in Austria.
And what was the outcome of the discussion with the fees?
The outcome was a very Austrian outcome. We have a term which is called Austrian solution.
Okay.
In the end, the whole discussion was about additional grid fees, and there I have to say that we have the second highest grid fees in Austria in all over Europe, and but around 10% of the whole investment of a wind turbine is for grid fees. 10%. That's pretty much
in the OPEX period.
CapEx.
In the CapEx.
The CapEx, yeah.
So
10% of the CapEx.
At the beginning.
Yeah, at the beginning. Yeah, at the beginning. And if you discount the whole OPEX, there is an OPEX part as well. And if you discount it, around 10% of the whole investment is for the grid. So there is already an operating fee, but also a CapEx fee,
like
for the grid access.
For the connection.
For the connection, yeah. And let's say it's also somehow unique. But in the end, around 10% is already the fee, and now they wanted to increase it. And I think there is a consensus in a scientific body that it makes no sense putting more fees on the energy production, but because in the end it makes the energy consumption more expensive
and less competitive
and less
in the industry.
Exactly. And it's also a problem for, let's say, for the whole competition in the energy production sector, because of course, if you're publicly owned, the impact is not that large on your finance line that then other than if you're privately owned or if you're a SME, for example. There's a different structure of how you finance projects. And yeah, it's very disruptive, and this is why we opposed it very much. And in the end, the problem was that the grid fee should have been done by the regulator and could have been changed fundamentally each and every year, also for the existing plants. And that would be very harmful for the whole investment stream, so to say, because everything is, 80% of the whole energy transition is financed through debt. And if you make debt more expensive, the whole energy transition gets more expensive just because of the risk premiums. And the risk premiums, they are for nothing, because the banks needed a higher risk premium because there is a legal system they are in, and they need, a certain a risk they calculate in. And it makes no sense because it makes no energy transition. It's just lost money. And in the end, the outcome was that they agreed on a we call it infrastructure contribution. Yeah, it's a contribution in the law, which is set by a 2/3 majority in the parliament, which brings at least more security for the investors, because a 2/3 majority is not that easy. It can't be changed annually. It's a problem, but a less disruptive problem.
And you still have to suggest some minor adjustment to the law.
At the moment, we don't have any suggestions to change the law. Now we have
done.
to not.
It's finished.
It's done. Yeah, it's done. At the moment, it's done. Of course, after the law is before the law. So of course we will get the new law. Maybe there are. They have to implement some European regulation, so they have to make it up again, and we will see it in 1 or 2 years again.
And comparing that the laws with let's say with Germany, how do you compare that with Germany? What is the situation over there?
That's difficult to compare. Germany has more than one law. We have one law which concentrates a lot of different things in one legal body. Germany has 2 or 3 laws which make more or less the same. To be honest, I think on the part of liberalization, digitalization, new market actors, it's more progressive than Germany. For example, energy communities. I think in Austria we have the most progressive, one of the most progressive systems in all over Europe. That's very good. In other terms, like as I said, in grid access and the grid fees, we are far behind Germany. Because the whole discussion is not very evidence-based. It's very incumbent-based.
So what would be your balance with the new electricity law? Because it's nothing is 100% house we want, right? But in the balance, is it's better
good.
or?
Yeah, it's good.
So it's something that you mentioned that I think is super important to highlight also for the community. It's the importance of legal certainty to de-risk the investment for project finances and attract more projects, more investment. So this is something that we are doing here to communicate more and give more information to the risk, so the interest rates are lower, so the debt is cheaper, and so super good. And now regarding the technical part of the operation of a electric matrix with intermittent energy. Wind energy is intermittent. So how do you see that the DSOs manage this intermittency? And if there are some solutions like inertia or storage, how do you see the flexible part of from the generation side to the operation of the system?
I think at the moment we have to ramp up rapidly the discussion about flexibility in the energy system. Let's say we forgot about that in the last years in Europe. I think there is Like there are some stakeholders, like the various institutions. Also, the Commission is talking a little bit about that, but we need I think we need a more emphasized and strategic approach to ramp up flexibility. And flexibility doesn't mean just market flexibility, like short-term markets.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, the markets on a good way, like 15 minutes trading is it's state of the art,
working good,
fine for them, and fine. And the market signals are working fine. That's good. We see some progress on digitalization because in the end you need the right signals, and you need not just the right market signals but also the right distribution channels to work with those signals. So digitalization is key for that. But the problem at the moment is, I think, the technical rules have to ramp up rapidly, and there is, I would say there is some kind of silo. So there's silo. Because mainly the whole thing is mainly done at the moment by APG in Austria. Quite nice. We have good discussions with them. They are very experienced, but I think the discussion has to be opened and has to be pushed more by the regulator, for example, because as you said, I see the future is synthetic inertia, storage, battery systems which can deliver inertia, but also wind turbines which can deliver inertia, and not just on the TSO level, but also on the DSO level.
Really? How does it work? The inertia in wind power plants? Like
I'm not an engineer, but I can send you the papers. But there are like there are some turbine operators which have already done, I think, 10 years ago or so, some projects on that. So they are this is possible to deliver inertia through wind turbines.
Wow.
I'm not sure if it's possible through photovoltaics, but I know it from wind power.
No, but it makes sense with turbine. That's why it would be interesting to know more. If you know someone that we could invite to ask, it would be great.
Yeah, of course. As I said, I mean, I'm not an engineer, so I can't explain how it's working, but it works and it can be done. So we need more discussions on that, and somebody has to take the stick. And in my view, it's the regulator who should push the market forward, and that's not happening at the moment that fast as I would wish. And it has to be a more, let's say, a public discussion. At the moment, APG is the owner of the whole. It's not like completely. I'm a little bit exaggerating, as I usually do, but I would say APG is at the moment the owner of the whole market development, and that's fine for them, and I like them, but it should be a little bit more open and more transparent. And in my view, as the whole energy transition is happening on the DSO level, DSOs are heavily in charge of promoting more market on their level as well. So we know the markets on the TSO level at the moment, like as I said, inertia and stuff like that. But the same discussion has to be done on the DSO level, and it's not happening at the moment.
And just how often do you meet some DSOs or have a conversation with them?
I would say a few times per month.
Okay.
So yeah, there are lots of discussions.
And yeah.
No, well, you mentioned that in Austria you have a huge wind potential, and we went to Slovakia recently to Bratislava, and you can see the windmills from there, but it's Austria, and they have the same resource, but they don't have. So, what would you say that it could enable more projects in Central and Eastern Europe, starting with the neighbors country with the same potential, but
liberalization. So I deeply believe in markets. Liberalization, because it also disrupts power. Because as you said, I mean, there is no reason why wind should stop at the border.
Exactly. But it's super clear.
It's super clear. It's super clear. You can see it on all images, satellite images and stuff. It's crazy. Yeah, it's a question of power. in the society, in the political system. So if you
human power, not electrical power.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah? Okay.
Of course, political power.
Okay.
And if you have incumbents which are very strong, everything moves as fast as they are moving. And if they don't have pressure, they don't move. Why should they?
Okay.
And
So
if
it's more
you-
a society movement to push renewables, or it should be bottom up instead.
I think both, but of course bottom up, but there has to be a political framework which allows a fruitful development of other market players, and there should be the regulatory and legal framework to allow a market. So you need a competition. And if you have a strong incumbent which sees no need to change, usually competition is speeding up their attitude to progressivity.
Yeah, actually, for our next forum that we are designing today, we are in December 18th, but the forum it's in June next year, 2nd and 3rd. So save the date.
Yeah.
Everyone. So something that we were advised to do, because we had a meeting with a bank, and they proposed to show successful business cases, and that could enable and de-risk the region, because it's also a business. It's not only to clean the matrix, to reduce carbon emissions, but it's also a business. So we're going to incorporate this in the forum for sure to show that it works. I mean, for you, it's all the predictions at the beginning of a project with the all project finances have been fulfilled, or it was even better than it was expected, or it was just in time, the payback period, ROI, and everything. How was it economically?
I think it depends on the project. I think it depends.
But in general, I mean, like industry, what is
It's really difficult to say, because at the moment there is a very depressing mood, because the government works very erratically, and there is no discussion on the legal framework. It just happens, it comes out of the blue the whole time, and this is very, very bad for the mood. And it's not, I mean, the whole economic system is based on gut feeling.
Yeah.
When everybody invests, of course, on data, on numbers, calculations, but in the end, you have to trust in the whole economy. And if policymakers work erratically, it really disrupts this trust in the economy. And that's, at the moment, that's the main mood in the whole industry. And for me, it's very disturbing, because, as you said, I mean, the money is there. The whole Europe sits on tons of money, billions of money, and usually money flows to where the projects are. And if there is a high legal risk, and if the whole mood is bad, money goes anywhere else. And that's the problem at the moment. So if you ask me if the return on investment and stuff like that is fine, I mean, it's not so easy to answer that. I would say at the moment, everybody is very, very, very careful, because everybody is afraid that it's getting worse. And at the moment, unfortunately, policymakers are proving them right.
Just on that note, I'll go back to the technical part. How do you think now? Do you see PPA-based industrial clients coming for the wind power, and the long-term price stable supply is being incorporated for the industry? How's the industry response to wind power?
It was stronger. Of course, it was stronger when energy prices were higher. So energy prices, I mean, objectively, energy prices are lower than they were 2022, 2023, 2024. So they are decreasing. But what stayed was that industrial partners, and not just industry, but also SMEs, are looking after what can they do? How can they hedge? And in the end, a PPA is a hedge.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody's interested, and there is quite a vital community discussing about that, and there are PPAs out there. In the end, I would see that PPAs are part of, let's say, a hedging environment, but also a de-risking environment on the other side. So turbines are built, and you can de-risk your investment by long-term contracts with the industry, but also with energy communities.
Mm-hmm.
So people, citizens they are small PPAs. You can de-risk your project with that as well. And on the other side, of course, people decide completely congruent with industrial partners. So everybody wants to hedge. Everybody wants to have security. So the interest in that is rising,
Mm-hmm.
but slower than it was before.
Wow, that's a bit sad new, but it's reality at the end. Like how the market is feeling right now.
And I think, to be honest, I'm always cautious if something gets too fast, because there is always then a downer. So the adoption rate of new technologies, of new solutions, has to be healthy.
Yeah.
And on the question that Daniel had earlier about intermittency, it's also the wind power being used for heating or maybe hydrogen. Is there anything, any project that comes into your mind which is going on currently in Austria?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of what I would call not just de-risking. Everybody is looking for business cases, and one business case might be, for example, melting steel or iron with your wind farm, like in Styria, for example. voestalpine builds a new steel plant there, melting iron or steel with electricity.
Mm-hmm.
And there are wind farms around there, and they have direct lines or direct contracts with voestalpine. That's fine. I mean, that's how it should work. And there are other cases, of course, like PPAs or stuff like that, with power to heat production. Yeah, there are quite a lot of various projects. What I don't see at the moment is hydrogen, because I mean, as we saw, and that's for example one example for unhealthy technology adoption. It's not a rate, because it was no reality, but curve, because there was a hype in hydrogen, and of course now reality is hydrogen is more complex, more expensive, and there are easier ways to decarbonize or to make useful energy out of electricity than through hydrogen. So, but in the end, yeah, of course, hydrogen might be one thing as well, but there are cheaper ways to use the electricity at the moment, or easier ways.
And regarding the Central and Eastern Europe region, which country do you see with more potential to deploy more wind nowadays with the current legal framework, or the legal framework in discussion? Which country will be more attractive to see next years?
But it's heavily dependent on the political environment. I mean, Hungary might be interesting as well, but in the current political environment, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, but there are elections, and it might happen that from one day to the other.
Yeah, in April, I think, next year.
Yeah, it's El Dorado. It can change rapidly. If electricity prices rise up, usually policymakers are quite fast in developing new ideas.
Yeah.
That could change everything as well. For wind energy, as well as for photovoltaics, I see that each and every country in the world is a huge market, because we haven't developed a lot wind in terms of the whole potential yet. So there is everywhere potential.
And do you get consulted by the neighboring countries about if we see, at least in Austria compared to Hungary, Slovakia, Slovenia, the wind potential is huge and it has been harnessed. So do the associations, do they try to consult with you?
We have quite a vital connection in Brussels at the European Renewable Energies Federation, where all the associations are connected to each other, and Wind Europe, which is connecting all the wind associations. But I have to say that the associations in Central and Eastern Europe are not that strong as we are, or the Germans are, for example. Not just because the market size, but also because of the history. We have 30 years of wind development in Austria. They don't have this this period, and we have competition as well. I mean, they don't have that much competition there. So of course, if you have 200 members, that's good for an association. It makes it more complex, but in the end, it's good. And they don't have that much companies there, so it's for them it's more complex, more difficult, and it depends on the political system. As I said, I mean, in Czechia and Romania, it's very transparent. I mean, you can agree or disagree that they say that they don't need, for example, in the Czech Republic, don't need that much wind. Okay, you can disagree or agree on that, but it's a discussion. You know it. Yeah. But for example, in Hungary, it's very difficult, not just on the basis of discussion, but also on the basis of economic survivable ability to survive economically if you are disagree with Orban. To say the least.
Yeah.
But it's also an opportunity for the Austrian companies, because when the market will progress over there, because since they are already advanced in on the capability, it opens up new avenues for them. So
yeah, I mean, all of them are active in Central and Eastern Europe, and with ups and downs. But due to the, proximity, of course, they are there, and historical ties as well. And I think there's some kind of culture as well, which promotes our companies there, because Austrians, we are not that strict like the Germans. We are more easy with everything, so we can live with risk.
We are getting into the end, but I wanted to ask you also about offshore wind. Because it's
no offshore wind here.
no, not here, but how do you see it in general, the manufacturing situation now, that is mainly in China, but it's also something in Europe. So how do you see the future of the wind industry because of the supply chains, the transport cost, the job creation and everything?
No, there was a study of the Joint Research Center of the European Union, where they had a metrics in it, where they analyzed various future-proof technologies, or so they called it: hydrogen, automotive, photovoltaics, wind energy, stuff like that. And wind energy was peak there. I think there are some reasons. The first reason is that, of course, we were the inventors of wind energy here in Europe. So most patents lie here. A long experience in that. And it's electromachinery. So you have to build up a system. It's easier to produce photovoltaics, for example, in a large plant. It's mass manufacturing. It's not that easy with such complex things like wind turbines. Of course, there's competition from China, but there's also competition from the United States, for example. I'm not the guy being against China or so. I don't like that, because we're on the same planet. It's 360 degrees. So there will be always competition, and we can learn from China, because what China did was they built up not just the supply chain, but they also are installing the turbines.
They are really consumers.
Yeah, they are consumers of that. And in my view, it was and it is always stupid from the European Union to see the energy sector just as a producer of energy and not as an industry. That's the core problem of the European Union, that we haven't understood how industry works. And this might be also the death of Europe if we don't understand that we have to close the loop, we close the supply chain. And I mean, of course, there might be Chinese turbines being installed in Austria, all over Europe. I don't care. I mean, the same could be with US American turbines.
Yeah.
The issue is you have to promote your own industry if you want to compete on a global level. The same with automotive, the same with computers, whatever.
And is there some production capacity in Austria for wind?
Yes and no. I mean, Austria is usually we don't have an OEM. We don't have an OEM we don't have much OEMs. It's coming to wind. It's similar like in the automotive industry. We have a lot of component manufacturers. For example, Bachmann in Vorarlberg is the best example. We have more than 140,000 wind turbines installed globally, and Bachmann is in more than 50% of those turbines globally. So we have those strong companies in the supply chain. And there are lots, for example, Transformer, the global wind hub for transformers is in Styria. The global hub for other parts of the wind turbines there are global hubs from other countries in other federal states as well. So yeah, component-wise, as usually, Austria is pretty good.
Yeah. So going now to the final session of questions, thinking about the future. We were talking behind cameras, like what would you do with 100 million to accelerate energy transition?
My energy transition. Building a PV plant on my house in the Caribbean. 100 million. I would. Good question. I mean, investing it in a faster bureaucracy makes no sense because that would be corruption. That's the problem with the 100 millions. The easiest way, would be more people in the bureaucracy and the jurisdiction, but investing it in assets. I mean, that's the whole thing at the moment: storage, wind turbines, PV plants. Investing it in assets.
Okay, and this is a new question also, surprise. With which question would you like to be answered and you will pay 100 million euros, like for yourself? Like a big question for the next 5-10 years.
Oh, okay.
There's too many millions, right?
Yeah, I have to separate it. It would be more, I mean, first would be what's the perfect European mix? What's the path to the perfect European electricity mix? It's not in 2040, it's the path.
Yeah,
Path would be interesting. The path,
the scenarios.
But so year by year. So how do we get there the most efficient way? And with the calculation of the grid investment, grid infrastructure, and answering the question, how should the legal and regulatory framework develop around that? And yeah, I would put it in a supranational entity being responsible for that. Yeah, not very democratic.
No, but good to think about. Thank you.
And also talking in the future perspective, what do you think is the next frontier for the wind energy? What should in technology, what's coming next? Or it's just the pipeline which is already existing that it should work? Or is there any new path-breaking technology coming?
I don't believe in in technologies falling from the sky being disruptive. At the moment, I don't see it coming. I think it's wind energy is growing organically, also the turbine size. I think the next frontier will be creating security again, because there is a lot of insecurity in the in the energy system. And at the moment, I think one of the largest problems is that we have to get political stability and security, to regain political stability and security. That's the largest problem, because the whole energy transition is built upon belief and trust in the institutions and the political landscape, and that's really not just an Austrian problem, but also a European problem. So they have to regain control about what they're doing and stepping back from responding to disinformation and populism. And it's not just in the energy sector.
Yeah. No, but we also are advocating that energy is a political topic, because it's in long term planification, and now it's not something around technology, because it's there.
Yeah.
It's more about willingness and how to
Yeah.
deploy it faster. So
Yeah.
So now some advice that you would give to the future professional generation that it's coming in the sector. What advice would you give them?
Don't listen to old guys giving advice.
Okay, question everything.
Question everything, exactly.
Even when I am doing this.
Yeah. Now,
or
question
saying-
everything would be the most important thing, I think. Question everything, and always ask why.
And just on that, also in the market, do you see any particular skills that is needed to get into wind market?
I would say the same. I mean, how often I get to the point when you ask 3 or 4 times why, and you get to the point that the person on the other side of the table can't give the right answer, there is a problem we have to solve, or there's an opportunity we have. And I think being maybe not pushy, but being interested and curious. I think being curious is very important. Curious beyond your specific sector, because what I don't see is there's not that much potential. There's always potential for silos. If you're an expert in X, great. But I think for me, in my point of view, the most important thing is being curious on what's lying on the left and the right side of the road, and why is it there? And I don't see it that much, and I think it's very important.
Yeah, cool. Actually, we started this out of curiosity, because we wanted to know what is happening here. So very grateful to learn from you today. We hope to have you again with good news with how is this law being.
Maybe another law, maybe.
Yeah. But thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Florian. It's been a pleasure. Do you have any last thoughts?
I think you have talked enough.
Okay. Thank you very much. We hope you also to see you in the next forum in June. And also invite all the community to check the social media, because we're going to be sharing more information about the forum. Thank you for watching the episode until the end, and see you in the next interview here in the Energy Bridge.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Ciao.